What's up, y'all? Champ Ron, the Minding Your Business podcast, here for episode number 172. Recording this on Monday, July the 13th of 2020. I'm excited to have y'all join me on today. Hope that your week's getting off to a great start. Hope you're coming off a great weekend. Hope last week was great. Hope that you're finding times to be improving for you if they were down. If you're going through tough times, just know that those won't last always. And you can still move and progress forward. So, what we're going to get into today is the title of our show, which is Detangling and Moving Forward, is what I want to get into today. But first, I want to encourage you to subscribe, five star, wherever you get your podcast. You can also go to themybpodcast.com, connect with the Minding Your Business community, also connect with our online directory, which is continuing to grow. It's a great place for businesses that are vetted and endorsed by me for you to connect and do business within the community. And we have the Minding Your Business Community Facebook group, and that link is in the show notes, so you'll be able to go there and connect. We'd love to do that. We'd love to hear from you. Ron at themybpodcast.com. So you can email me, good, bad, ugly. You got requests, you got things that are on your mind. You like to continue the conversation that we have on this episode or on previous episodes. Please go out there and do that. I would love, love, love to hear from you. And I love to hear from as many people as possible. And for those that do reach out to me, thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing so and reaching out to me. It's always good to connect with people all over. And I connect with people all over, which is tremendous and tremendous opportunity. So let's get into it. So, detangling and moving forward. So, on last Friday, and again, we'll get into this topic, but I'm not going to spend much time on it because I want to get into the meat of what I want to share, as opposed to getting into the topic from entertainment news, which we don't really cover much of any on this particular podcast. But here's the deal. So Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith had their Red Table Talk that Jada Pinkett normally hosts. I think it's on Facebook Watch or whatever. So they hosted about 13, 14 minute conversation between the two of them, again on Red Table Talk, that is in response to the news of the relationship between Jada Pinkett Smith and August Alsina that took place apparently a couple years ago, and it took place at a time when Will and Jada were in a cloudy spot in their relationship, and so she had a relationship with the R&B singer. And in that relationship, she described it as, quote, an entanglement, of which Will had some interesting response to that. That's neither here or there. So she refers to the relationship between Jada Pinkett Smith, and August Alsina. She refers to that as an entanglement. And so I'm going to use that as the basis on what I want to share with you all today around that. So, an entanglement, which was really just her way of, without explicitly saying that, which is interesting as someone that she's a host, she always wants everybody that comes on Red Table Talk to talk transparently and to talk openly and to talk directly to the point. But she doesn't do that herself on her own show. When the subject's her, she uses words like entanglement and that sort of thing, as opposed to just saying she had a sexual relationship with August Alsina. Many of us, whether you want, no matter what funny name you want to give it, um, that keeps you from really keeping it real, at the end of the day, it is what it is, like we often like to say. And many of us get entangled, if that's the word you want to use, in relationships that, in some cases, don't do us really any good or cause us harm or set us back. And that's personally or professionally, right? We get into relationships, let's talk professionally. We get into relationships Or we try to build relationships with people that really don't care to do business with us or don't care to do business with you. You get involved with people who don't have the same mindset. They're not like minded, but you get quote unquote entangled with them, right? You get entangled with people that don't value what you value if what you value is of value. They don't they don't hold in the same regard the principles that you do. But you find yourself getting involved with them anyway. Okay? And many of us could probably attest, I certainly can, that when you do that, you open yourself up to some tough times and some disappointing times and some times that are wasted. And so, in Will and Jada's case, it was a very personal matter. Apparently, it was some time back, but many of us right now today get entangled on things professionally. You get entangled, quote unquote, with a boss or supervisor at work, right? Where you may not see eye to eye, or they may manage things in a way that is not conducive to success at any level. And so, one of the things we have to make sure we work through is those relationships, those entanglements. Some things personally people get entangled with or become in relationships that they may not have intended for it to go to that level. And we could talk all day about those type of relationships, personal, that you get into, even on your road to building yourself up, whether it's in the workforce or in entrepreneurship or in business ownership. We many I've found that as I consult and I sit down with people, oftentimes what I find is that those personal relationships that people are quote unquote entangled with, right? They hold them back from being what they could be professionally to launch that business. I can't tell you how many people I come across that they want to launch their business. They want to be able to do things and whatnot. And they have great ideas. They've got great perspective, but they have these personal relationships that quote unquote they're entangled in or they're kind of stuck in or leveraged against that prevents them, so they can't spend the time researching. And when I say research, I'm not talking about Google searching stuff. So I'm not talking about typing stuff into Google. And that's not the full fledged purpose of researching, or the only way to research something is just through Google, right? It is a way, not the only way. But they don't have time to invest. They don't have the capital to invest. They're not willing to make the time, or they feel like they can't make the time. And some of it's because those relationships they're entangled with. They're entangled with relationships with family and friends, with mom and dad, right? Who may be of a different belief system or a different risk aversion. They're in, these professional relationships, with bosses, with other business owners, with just other people that again they get entangled with that they can't let go or they won't let go of, right? And when that happens, okay, they can be barriers to success and to your success. And so Jada Pinkett Smith uses the term entanglement, uses the word entanglement. I'm encouraging you to detangle from those relationships. You have to be able to detangle yourself from harsh relationships, from draining relationships. And whether personal or professional, a lot of us can have relationships that are just draining. You're around negative people. You're around people that have no belief system, people that everything that you tell them is a scam. Everything won't work. Anything that requires them to tell somebody else. Now they'll go on a job and they'll have a goal of you got to sell 10 widgets and that's no issue, but then when it comes to doing their own thing, everything is a scam. They don't want to recruit. They don't want to have to do this. Well, every business that's going to grow, you're going to recruit because you're recruiting customers, you're recruiting other people to work with you in your own business. If you get to a point in your own business where you're going to hire, you're going to recruit, right? So why, when in building the business or whatever that you're in, people don't want to sell, they don't want to recruit? Then why do you want to be in business, right? You don't want to offer anything of value to anybody, right? So what are we talking about? You know, hey Toya Gill, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it. For those of you that are on, shout out to everybody that's on Facebook Live. Those of you that are on YouTube, definitely appreciate that. Courtney Williams, how you doing? What's going on? Um, but yeah, I mean, there are these relationships that people get involved in. They get tangled up in, and I'm encouraging all of us to get detangled from those relationships that are draining. You got that parent that's always draining on you, that sibling, that cousin, that whoever, that aunt, auntie. You've got again, again. I've named a bunch of people. You've got bosses, supervisors, coworkers, whatever it is that are just draining. It's always something. Yeah. Courtney said they just want the prestige and the title of being a business owner. Yeah, and there are people like that. Courtney's exactly right. Yep. Yep. So it's a you know yeah, it's a tough thing, man. That's a great comment, Courtney Williams, because what happens is people lust for, yeah, they have these relationships they get entangled with, and then they lust for wanting to be something more, which is good. It's good to have that aspiration of wanting to be more than what you are, what you have been. The problem is sometimes you have these relationships that hold you back from doing that, and also you may not have the mindset that what you're trying to do to be a business owner is you want to impress somebody else. One of the things that I think is a bad entanglement is between sometimes people and parents, where they have parents who are very risk adverse, and they may have been reared in not investing in themselves. So they, and that's fine. Everybody's approach is different, but they may not have that. So then when you want to invest in yourself and you want to start your own thing, this is why sometimes those folks they'll celebrate you getting a new job, but then they've got either criticisms or they don't see how your business is going to work, right? They see how they always have 2020 vision. They see how the new job's going to work, which is great, right? But they can't see how the business is going to work. And so people then can fall into that entanglement, and it can be sometimes toxic in that relationship that holds people back, right? As we always talk about in this podcast, having a job is tremendous, right? Being gainfully employed, specifically right now, you should consider yourself extremely fortunate if you're able to maintain employment, and especially employment that you enjoy. But to be able to generate income in this environment currently that we're speaking in right now is a tremendous opportunity that you should not take lightly at all, because you don't have to search far to find people that have been severely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic as it's currently ongoing. But when you want to aspire to do more, sometimes that relationship, it doesn't have to just be parent, it could be anybody, can be tremendously or tremendous impact in a negative sense. And so look to detangle yourself. This is a great opportunity for you to look to detangle yourself from uh, those relationships, personally and professionally, right? Detangle yourself. You know what I mean? Lawrence Thompson, what's going on, my brother? Thank you so much, man, for jumping in with me here on Facebook Live, man. I appreciate you, my brother. But this is what we're talking about, these relationships, right? Um, they the toxic level sometimes of it, and sometimes people, I don't think we always realize sometimes when we're going through situations with people and entanglements or whatever you want to call them, we don't realize the detriment that they do to that person by holding on to it and attending their pity parties and all that. And then what it does to us, right? It's not, these relationships oftentimes aren't healthy. Okay. And so look to get out of that. Look, begin now. So, how do you do that? Well, I'm not a how to guy, right? I'm not a big how to guy. Well, I'll share with you what I do, but I'm not a how to guy because however many people are listening to this, whether it's one person or 360 million people, if every person in the United States were listening to this podcast, as they should, no matter what that is, right? That how to is going to be different for everybody, right? And there's no way for me to share with you exactly how to do something, certainly to that magnitude, because it's going to depend, right? It depends on the relationship, how many of them, to what level. I mean, there's 10,000 ways that it could be defined. And so I'll tell you this, that you have to take a step back. You have to have the courage to look at a relationship and not just recognize that it's not doing you any good, but you may have evolved from it, right? It may have done you good and served a purpose in the past, but maybe it doesn't today on the pathway that you're on. I'll tell you that I've had numerous friends, some family that we're not close today like we were in the past, right? Why is that? Because pathways change, they evolve, right? My path has evolved, their path has evolved. And it's not always just about me being in a higher place than anybody else, because some of the friendships that I lost, they were on a more positive path than I was at that time. All right. I know we don't like to admit, we want to make everything seem like it, we were on it before everybody else. But the truth of the matter is, sometimes I was the one that needed to be detangled from, right? Depending on what moment of time we're talking about, right? It may be now, may have been in the past. All right. But something to, again, just keep in mind as we're talking here, you know what I mean? That we should make sure that we're being honest and transparent with ourselves. But one of the things that we have to look to do is, again, break free of those bonds that sometimes people will put us on, right? That hold us back. And a lot of you haven't launched your business, you haven't launched your podcast, you haven't done things because you're still holding on, right? You're still holding on to people that you're in not the best of relationship with, or they don't mean you the best, right? But you're still holding on to them, because either you're hoping that things are going to change and turn around, or like how Jada described, you're the type of person that you want to be that resource to them. You want to try to help them through their toxic times, right? But all that does is just drain you, or all that's done as a result is drain you. And time waits for nobody. Okay. So look to detangle yourself. If you're doing anything to start this week, write down the relationships that you have that you feel are impacting you in a negative way. Doesn't matter who it is. Write down who that is. What's getting in the way? Is that person always negative? Is that person always needy? Is that person always projecting themselves on you all the time? So you always find yourself trying to pacify and adhere to what they got going on, right? They're always prepared to talk. They're never ready to listen. So when you start talking about what you want to talk about, they always got to put you on hold, like you on the phone. Those people that, they never have to stop when they're talking to do something, but when you start talking, all of a sudden they got to click over to catch this, or they got to put you on hold and all this type of stuff. But it's never when they're talking. You know what I mean? And so, uh, those type of people, man, you got to be able to move past, because if you've got an idea and you've got a process that you want to implement for your business, that's yours. That's been given to you, and you should be on the road to progressing towards that, towards whatever that is that's been given to you, and allowing people and their BS and their pessimism and their cynicism and all this type of stuff is just, you got to get away from those negative minded people. Okay, doesn't mean you can't love them from a distance, but you got to get away from those type of people because they will bring you down. I'm just telling you, I've been there. They will bring you down. They certainly will try. Even if they don't, they will try, and you'll find yourself wasting a lot of time. You'll find yourself year after year, you haven't really gained any ground, right? So the same conversation you were having in 2015 and 2016 and 2017 and 2018 are the same conversations you're going to be having in 2020 and 21 and 22. You're always going to be fixing to do something or about to do something or looking to do something, right? I talk to people all the time. They were talking about launching their real estate business in 2013. Here it is 2020. They still haven't done it. They wanted to launch their podcast in 2017, 2018. Still haven't done it. They wanted to open up their store. They wanted to, move over here. I can't tell you how many people on Facebook in 2010, 2011 were talking about moving somewhere and they ain't moved yet. And a lot of it is because these quote unquote entanglements with relationships. Donald Watson, what's going on, brother? Yeah, it's the relationships sometimes that they're entangled with, personally and professionally, that get in the way. Okay? So think about this as you're going through this week, as you're listening to this podcast. Think about the relationships that you have, personally and professionally. What purpose are they serving? And if they're not serving any kind of purpose, why do you have them? Okay? Critically think through, what do you gain from it? What does that person gain from you? Are they getting the best you? Are you still compatible? Right? Are you still on the same walk, the same trajectory? And if you're not, why not? And then do you need to break off and move on? All right. So this is part of what I want to talk about as far as remaining focused. During these times, right? We have been, so COVID-19, supposedly, it certainly became big here in the United States. Let's just call it the 1st of March. All right. So then by mid-March, everything was closed down. Here we are in mid-July. So we're 4 months into the coronavirus pandemic as it's constituted here in the United States of America. And it's changed everything. It's had an impact on you and me, on the economy, on government, on how we interact with each other. Everything has been impacted by the virus pandemic. And it comes down to this. What after we get done with all the talking, whether it's athletics wanting to do stuff, sports, movies, whatever, everything, all this comes down to is, what is our risk assessment to death? Because that's really ultimately what people fear, right? People fear catching the virus and dying, or someone close to them catching the virus and dying. We don't like to talk that way, but let's just get to the realness of it. All right. So it's a mix between capitalism and mortality. That's what it is. And those are two very extreme areas. And I'm talking about here in the United States. They're very extreme, but they're very impactful. They're very influential. And so we're having to make decisions without any real certainty, because what we're managing through really is, do I feel like I'm susceptible to dying versus my money, right? And my ability to go and generate commerce for myself and my family. So that's what this is at the end of the day. When you break this down, these times are about that. We all are having to make decisions without the certainty of too much of tomorrow, right? Because this impact, and the reason being is, it doesn't just impact us solely, because it impacts on such a mass level that Decisions get made and then they impact the next person, right? And so that's the thing. Donald Watson says, the vision that's given to you is for you. Others will not understand what is given to you. Right, exactly, man. And there it is. Tiffany Wright, how you doing, girl? Thank you. But this is what we're talking about. So really what this comes down to is everybody's making a decision based on their risk aversion and what level that is, on how much risk am I willing to take to go do what I want to do, and how much do I believe in that risk, right? What is it, right? And if you're someone that doesn't see much of any risk, or you don't really respect that there's a risk, then you're going to operate one way. If you're someone that's on the complete other side and you see this as a complete risk, and your risk aversion's high, right? Then you're going to operate another way, and then you got everybody in between. Right? So in all of this, you have to be able to remain focused and determine what risk level do you want to take, or are you willing to take? Do you see it as a risk? I'll share my opinion. My thought is, I am not fearful of coronavirus. I'm not. I am not fearful of it. I don't walk around in fear. I'm not worried. I don't sit and watch the news to get fearful of everything that's being said and that, because I'm busy doing other things. I don't sit around watching CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and whoever. I don't care who it is. I don't have that ticker scrolling around and all that. So personally, I don't do that, and I don't expose my girls to that. My wife and I made a concerted decision that we don't sit around with the news on all day. Not because I get depressed by it. I'm not one of these people. I don't understand. I watch the news and get depressed. What the hell? It's on TV. All right. I don't get depressed by it. Right. I see it and I get concerned, but it doesn't depress me to watch the news. I know how crazy this world is. I've been living in it long enough to know. And so have you. So it doesn't depress me, but what I don't like the images being implanted. I don't want the negative energy and images to be implanted for us and then for our girls. Okay. But what we have to do is we have to make decisions, right? Economic decisions and then mortality decisions. Okay. There's no guarantee. I'm 39 years old. Yes, medical professionals have stated that someone in my age bracket is probably less likely to contract the virus and perish from it. Okay. I said earlier that I am not fearful of the virus, and I'm not. I am not fearful of the virus at all. I do respect it. So you see that difference? I do respect it. I respect the virus. What does that mean, Ron? That means that I want to protect those that are around me, right, as much as possible from contracting it, if I can, as much as I can. Are we going to be able to stop everybody from getting the coronavirus? No, no matter what you do. There's not enough known about it. All right. Do I subscribe to those conspiracy theories all day about this, and that? Listen, I know, and for those of you that have ever operated at a high level in banking, you've been exposed to how some things work and how decisions are made. Why? Because the banking system is at the forefront of how commerce gets moved around and how things get funded. Right? At the end of the day, things don't happen until they get funded. You can come up with ideas all day long, but it's often through the banking system and the fundraising that can go on that can determine how things are implemented. At the end of the day, how ideas are implemented. So, no, I don't walk around, with my mask on all day. I'm not traveling every place. I've been working here from home, so that's been no issue for me. And I'm fortunate to be able to do that, to operate business from home while I'm here with the girls. Okay. But I respect it. All right. So, in that respect, I'm not going to be reckless, but I'm not going to be fearful, right? I'm not going to be fearful. I'm not going to live life in fear. We're not all designed to, our society has been heavily is geared towards wanting to be young forever and wanting to live forever. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to live. We're here to live, right? But transitioning is a part of that life as well. And nothing's guaranteed. That's why, going back to my earlier point, you don't want to waste time because you don't have time to waste. None of us do. But we fall into this trap of thinking that because we do these things, we're going to live forever and then we've got time to waste. We don't have time to waste. We don't have time to waste. So, being focused right now, I've found success in being focused when others are kind of all around and all over the place. Be focused on what you're doing. When I talked about those relationships earlier, be focused on where you see opportunity. There's always opportunity around, no matter what's going on, but you got to cut through the BS and the noise to get to it. Are you building the right kind of relationships? If you've got a business, where is it? Where is it positioned? Or do you understand your target audience? Are you connected with them? Have you evolved your target audience? Are you doing the same things you always been doing? If every year looks the same, then you're not evolving, right? If every year looks the same, you're talking to the same folk on Facebook and Instagram, you're doing the same TikTok videos, but then your business revenue, it was zero then, it's zero now, or it's a dollar. You make transactional money. You make let me put an extra $50 towards my cell phone bill money, and not let me pay the mortgage and take the extra and put it in my savings money. That's two different things. And when I'm talking about money, I'm not just talking about cash. That's the one thing you got to understand with me in the podcast. I'm not just talking about the vanity of cash money, because there are a lot of things that are resources beyond just cash. And a lot of those resources are resources that you should be depositing, not just cash money. Are you depositing experiences, positive experiences? Right? So remain focused during all of this pandemic and everything that's going on. Focus on the things that bring you joy. Focus on the opportunities that are bound, that are all around. Sure, do what you have to do. Feel however you feel about coronavirus and the pandemic. But at the end of the day, it's affecting everybody. It may or may not affect you. And for some people, they don't affect them because they hate the military, but then they live off military benefit. So then it don't affect them because they're always getting their payment from the military, or they got some settlement. But things could be impacted. And then what? Then what? Okay? So you got to be building what you're constantly building and what you're looking to be. Watch the relationships, watch your entanglements, so to speak, and then remain focused. One of the things for my wife and I, as we go through this, and many of you here in YB that are listening to this, you are parents. Your parents or your custodians of children, grandchildren, your aunts and uncles, your cousins, whoever you are, your caregivers. And we know that we are about, in some places, a month away from school starting. We're a month to a month and a half from school starting for public and private schools. And so the conversations are heating up, if they haven't already, around what I was talking about earlier, that management of risk aversion. So now that's getting transferred to our children. So what is school going to look like come August and September for the fall semester? Whether you're in kindergarten or whether you're 12th grade or you're in college or grad school, whatever it is, that's coming. If you're not already having the conversation. And this is going to be a huge impact. It's going to be different for our country because now we're all having to make, again, those risk decisions that involve our children. Do our children go back to school buildings? Is there some hybrid between school buildings and virtual learning? Or is there just solely virtual learning? And I don't think anybody or too many people know the true answer or solution to that. I think if you were to survey or poll most people, I imagine, I could be wrong saying this, but I imagine are probably leaning more towards a virtual environment for their children. All right. That creates a lot of disparity and variability from house to house versus even the standard of having 1,000 or 2,000 kids at a school where you can have a standard for those 1,000 or 2,000 kids. Now, when you send those 1,000 or 2,000 kids home, there's at least 1,000 to 2,000 forms of variability because every household's different. Every household ran different. Parents are different. There are different levels in their knowledge and their engagement, in their desires, in their ability to support their kids. So it's more than just getting a kid a device, right? And making sure they have Wi-Fi at home. There are parents right now that are struggling with, they have young kids that are not old enough to handle virtual learning on their own without parental involvement or without the parent being a quasi teacher's aide. They're not equipped, these children, to be at home by themselves day in and day out for long stretches of time because parents that have to work that are in careers and job positions that require them to be on site, right? Versus those that have the ability to be virtual. So you've got parents that are going to struggle with that decision. Parents that are able to work virtually that have to work, right? It's not like you're at home and you get to just lay in the bed and just do whatever. You have to be up and you have to be working. Well, that's a challenge too, because then you also have a child or children that are required, if they're working virtually, they have to be there and engaged. I've got three daughters that are elementary school age. They're not old enough to really stay home on their own. They're fairly self sufficient, but in terms of having to get on devices and learn virtually on a day to day basis and capture information and be able to come back and study it and learn it, that would require some oversight by me and my wife as parents. Okay. And many of you are in that same situation. Some of you have children that are, 11th and 12th grade that you're looking towards graduation here on the horizon coming up. And I really feel for parents who, have, seniors. While your senior is probably a little more apt, more so than elementary school kids, to handle the virtual learning environment, they probably have, even if they don't have the equipment, if the school provides the equipment, the kid is able to, uh, on their own with some, a little bit of autonomy, they can get on and handle the learning environment virtually. But I feel for the kids that are coming up that could, just like this past year or past May, where a lot of kids were impacted with prom and graduation. I feel for that for this upcoming class too, that is likely to get impacted for those events, prom and graduations and all that type of thing. College students that are having to be shifted away from dorms and things like that. Kids that rely on schools for meals and that sort of thing. And just for all of you parents, you know what I mean? I feel for every last one of y'all, including myself, because we got to deal with this thing and try to figure out ways to help our kids continue to learn. I think what's going to happen, depending on how this last over the next several months is this whole pandemic is going to put an impact on how we teach our children, what we teach our children, what curriculum we teach our children, and how we do go about that, and what that impacts over time. We haven't seen this in our lifetime. I think the education system could go back to what it was more than 100 years ago, where you don't have this centralized government sponsored school system. Possibly, but again, there's a lot of factors that go into that. But for right now, my wife and I, we're concerned just like everybody else. What is this going to look like? How does this impact the workforce? Right? If you got young kids, your kids are 5, 6, 7, you got kindergarten, first, second, third grade, fourth grade kids. What does this look like for you? You got to go to work. If not, you got multiple kids. And listen, I'm not even going to go get into, I mean, there's got to be a special place above for you parents that have newborns and toddlers where you're not sleeping through the night, and you're having to deal with all of this. And, your kids aren't in school, but, they require a lot of attention. They're not even self sufficient to entertain themselves. I mean, that just, and some of y'all are tremendous. You're working with, a kid that may be in school and then another kid that's not in school. And daycares are not open, or at least to the same extent that they had been. Man, this is crazy. It's crazy times. So, the school thing is going to be something for all of us to, make that decision on. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the school thing. Email me, ron at themybpodcast.com. Email me there and let me know what your thoughts are on the whole school deal, and what decision you and yours are looking to make, as we look at determining going to school in the school building, and or uh, virtual learning. Okay. Something else that's kind of going on as we talk about this subject is, getting older. So I will talk about the relationship real quick, because that's something else that came out of, again, going back to Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table topic from last Friday, is just that whole notion of relationships and marriage. All right. Um, Believe it or not, we're getting older as a country. A lot of you aren't as young as you think you are, or that you want to be, or that your Instagram page may suggest. Looking the part's one thing, but if you're your age, you're your age. No matter how you look or how much younger you think you look or that sort of thing, you're still your age. All right. It's still been X amount of time since your mother gave birth to you, regardless of how you look in the mirror. Um, Time's going by quick. I am 39. I am halfway to 40 already. I was born in 1981. I'm halfway to 40 already. And I'll tell you, the time from like college, I graduated college at 22, to now flew. I mean, the time, my wife and I have been married 13 years now. That time has flown. I mean, I remember all those times, like right before we got married. I remember all of it vividly. And here we are, 39 years old. Time goes. Okay? With relationships, with marriage. Let me talk on that a little bit, just from my perspective. Okay. And I am not a relationship expert. Just because I've been married and married for X amount of time does not make me an expert on marriage. Relationships between people, like I talked about earlier, they evolve, and they're not something that you master, right? It's an evolution process. You grow together. One of the things that I will state as it when it comes to marriage, because a lot of people are pessimistic, they're cynical about marriage. They don't, because they don't see examples of it. And when it comes to matters of the heart, people have to see certain examples and things like that. It's funny. They'll risk it all to start a business, but then they don't want to get I mean, well, it's too much. It's too much this, Ron. It's too much that. But they'll risk their whole livelihood to start, you know, a business that they don't even vet. They will. Um, here's my take on marriage. Marriage is like money in the sense that it's only going to bring out more of what you already are. So getting married is not going to solve loneliness. Is not going to solve internal joy. Marriage is just marriage. You're going to be married to an individual. That in itself is not going to bring you happiness or joy. Okay. Um, when it comes to marriage, a lot of marriages break up because one, finances and love. Finances and love break up a lot of marriages. A lot of folk at the courthouse over money and love. Again, I'm no expert. Here's what I found, or what I've learned about with marriage relationships. Um, Marriage relationships that are based on and that have a foundation of friendship and respect. You have to generally like a person that you're married with. Like before I love my wife, I generally like her. I like her as a person. I like what she does. I like the way she speaks. I like the way she thinks. Do we get along with every single thing? No. But I like the way that she thinks. I like her mindset on things. Do you see what I'm saying? I like that. I like her as a person. I like being around her. She's fun. She can be funny. She can be introspective. I like being around her. And I believe, obviously, she likes being around me. Have to have her on the podcast so she can talk about it. You know what I mean? So, do you is there a likability factor to begin with? All right, and then from the likability, is there a respect? Is there a deep rooted mutual respect? Because think about just with your friends. Your best friends or best friend, you have a great mutual respect for. That's bi-directional. You enjoy each other's company. You can be honest with each other, void of judgment. And when things happen, you can always go back to that respect, that friendship, even when your doors get blown off. And they will get blown off. I can tell you, in 13 years of marriage, there are times where your doors get blown off, whether something gets said, something gets done, a combination of the two, or just life circumstances that may be out of your control. A job, health, whatever it is. But if you've got that basis of respect and that basis of friendship, you could always go back to that. That's a road that you can always travel to, even when the weather and the climate changes and blows your doors off. But a lot of people, that's not the case. I can't speak on Will and Jad. I don't know them. To my knowledge, I've never met them, so I can't speak on that. I can only speak on, for me and mine. So hopefully that helps you. Focus in on, if you're not married right now, don't get into the rhetoric of worrying about things that people say. Oh, well, happy life, happy wife, and all this other stuff. You don't let when people quote 50% of businesses fail, that don't stop you from trying to start no business. Or if they say, hey, on the main street in your city, 15% of vehicles that travel down this road end up in a car accident. It don't stop you. You just understand, you respect the stats if you do, if you recognize them, and then you go on and you're cautious and you develop what you're going to do. So it's the same thing in marriage. Don't look for the excuses to not do it. because of your fears and insecurity. Meet a person, take your time, and develop the friendship and the respect. Love has a lot of people at the courthouse because love can flee, right? You can love somebody and then you can not love somebody. But if you'll always have it if you've got respect. Now the thing is, when you lose respect and the friendship gets broken, all bets are off. All right, you're spiraling down. You're spiraling out of control at that point. Once the relationship is void of respect and is void of friendship, you don't have it. Okay, you don't have it anymore. Think about it. Okay, think about it. Friendship, respect, and then what's the name of this podcast? Minding your business. Do that. Mind your business. You have to do that. Your business between you and your spouse is between y'all. It's not for your mama. It's not for your daddy. It's not for Facebook. It's not for Instagram. It's not for that nosy chick that knows everybody's business except her own. She'll talk about everybody else's business except for what go on in the four walls of her house. So she used you for entertainment, or he used you for entertainment. Because you got dudes like that too. So detangle yourself when you're talking about with marriage relationship. Detangle yourself from all the excuses. And it's not for everybody. Marriage is not for everybody. So you first have to know, is that for you or not? And then live your life. But if you desire it, and most people do, they desire that companionship, even if they get to an age where they think it's not going to happen, so they become pessimistic towards it or towards the idea, notion of it. But NYB, think about that. Friendship, respect. If those two things exist, you've got something to build on. There's the ebbs and flows in any relationship. Okay? But respect and friendship are going to take you a long way when you've got that as the basis, the foundation of what you do. That's going to allow you to activate for your set when the challenge times come. And they will come, as will joyful times. It's not all about the negative. Joyful times will come too. And even when you're enduring this current environment, job loss, sickness, misdirection, lack of leadership, anxiety, poor mental health. As you're enduring all this, whether it's with yourself or around you, when you've got relationships that are built on respect and friendship, you're going to go a long way. So I hope this encourages you all. I want to take a step back. We've had some tremendous guests. We're going to continue to have tremendous guests on this podcast. But I want to take a step back and just encourage you all. Man, just keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Someone doesn't call you back, call the next person. Someone told you stop calling them, stop calling them. It's not personal. Go on. You're trying to build your brand. Everybody's not going to like that. You want to marry your woman or you want to marry your man? Everybody's not going to like that. Anytime you're trying to build something positive, there's going to be somebody that's not going to like it. It's going to have a problem with it. It's going to hate on it. So what? That's part of life. You're grown. We moving on. Do what you feel is right. What makes you happy. What brings joy for you. Okay? That business idea that you got that's on your flash drive, that you got written in a notebook, that you done wrote on every whiteboard since 2009, do it. Let's go. Make the phone call. Let's go. I'm encouraging you. I want to see you be successful. I want to hear about your success. Even during these times. You lost your job. They closed the doors. It's time to activate. What are you going to do? Let's do it. You got that idea? Ron ain't got a whole lot of money. I don't have the credit to go borrow money. Who said anything about money? Let's do it. There are many ways to get things done. You know what I mean? Many ways to get things done. Someone that's called me while I'm recording the podcast. There are many ways to get things done in YB community. So let's go. Be creative. There's value all around. You have value. Is there a value in exchange for the money? Where is that? Where's that lie? You got to find it. And then let's go. We're halfway through July. No whining zone. Let's do it. Detangle and let's move forward. All right. Thank y'all so much, man, for checking this out. I appreciate everybody on Facebook Live. I appreciate everybody on YouTube, everybody on Spreaker, everybody on, let's see, what else is out here? Deezer, all kinds of stuff, man. I appreciate everybody on Apple Podcasts, Google, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and certainly on the mybpodcast.com. Thank y'all so much, man, for all your support. I really appreciate every last one of you. We're going to be back again with episode number 173, Entrepreneurship, Real Estate, Trending News. There's no business like minding your own. Champ Ron. I guess I add my new alias, Tupac Castor. It made some folks laugh with that. But let's do it. Be great. I encourage you all. All of you have genius level talent. It's just, do you have the mindset to go after it? Or do you like quote unquote entanglements and excuses? Which one will it be? We'll see. Champ Ron, the Minding Your Business podcast.